for you is what are the reasons and motivations for the protests, blockades, marches that you are organizing and overall creating the protests?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you everyone for coming and thank you for spending your time here with us. So, something really scary, really terrifying happened in our country, in our hometown, Novi Sad. Our own country failed us and people have died. 15 people lost their lives on November 1st, 2024. So, sadly, one more person lost their life on March 21st, and there's still one woman fighting for hers. And that wasn't just a tragedy, that was actually a crime. And I do use that word carefully because there are people who are responsible with names and faces and they should be held accountable. So, when that happened, the whole country felt it. We all felt connected to the families of the lost souls. And then we just started to gather together and stood there in silence on streets at exactly 11:52 a.m. And major bridges, streets, intersections were blocked for 15 minutes because we stood there in silence. No shouts, no speeches, nothing. We just stood there together in silence and we were mourning those people. And then when you do that and stand in silence, we had some situations where people attacked us, and that actually happened to our colleagues in Belgrade. People physically assaulted them, hit them, they drove cars into us trying to run us over, and that was actually the moment we had enough of everything, and students said this has to stop. So faculties actually started going into blockades, and every day more and more people joined, and we kind of are in a situation where maybe a month, every faculty in our country was blocked. So no classes, nothing, everything is blocked. And from there, that just continued to happen, and that's not okay. So we sat down and wrote our demands, and we want justice, and for those people, and for things that have been happening for over 13 years now.
So she did an amazing job. Just to give you some sort of context, I want to go a bit deeper into that. So that happened on November 1st. The canopy fell on a public railway station in Novi Sad. It killed 15, then subsequently 16 people, and 17, she's still in the hospital, so it's unknown what's going to happen to her right now. And people were in a state of shock. When I walked the streets, I felt that the whole city was depressed. There was a lot of bowing of heads. It was very, very sad, and again, it kind of goes with the cold weather that was happening those days. And after the days of mourning, we had a large protest in our hometown on November 5th, and protests just went on. Different parts of society started to protest. Then the blockades happened, and they weren't just some group of people or group of students that went into blockade. It was very much democratically voted for. And after that, the blockade started, and I guess it was kind of contagious, since a lot of different faculties had a similar idea. And for Faculty of Dramatic Arts for Belgrade, and Novi Sad was the Faculty of Philosophy that started it. After that, we had again those 14, then after 15, now 16 minutes of silence, and our entire campus went to vote on whether we are going to be in the blockades, and pretty much every faculty has voted for that almost unanimously.
I think it's important to mention also that the fall of the canopy is problematic because the railway station was recently renovated, and the government actually said that they did not renovate that part of the railway station. So that was part of the motivation. Before, if I can interrupt you just for a second, because I have an injustice to correct. I didn't introduce my speakers under the adrenaline rush. So next to me is Lama. I will introduce them only by names because for safety reasons and their wish to be introduced in such a way. Lena is from the Faculty of Sciences from Novi Sad, and she is currently a resident of the Rectorate, which is also under the blockades. Next to her is Ivan, who is also from the University of Novi Sad, and he comes from the Faculty of Law. Then we have Nata, who is from the Faculty of Philosophy, also from Novi Sad. And next to Nadia, we have Igor, who is from Faculty of Technological Science and also a resident of the Rectorate under blockades. And last but not least, we have Anya, who is also from the Faculty of Philosophical Faculty. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add that not only was the railway station newly renovated, but it was opened twice. And the government officials kept saying that it is the safest railway station in Europe, which is, I mean, it obviously isn't. And the reactions from government officials on November 1st, when the tragedy happened, were awful. For example, the minister of, well, kind of like the police, I would say, he said that like hospital staff and ambulance staff, they didn't have a lot of work to do because they were more dead than alive. So that is one of the main reasons why after 3 days of mourning, as Ivan said, we had a huge protest in Novi Sad on November 5th.
Thank you. And can you tell us more about how did the protest emerge? You talked about it a little bit, but can you go a little bit more into detail, like who initiated it, when, how did it turn from lack of or unsatisfaction with the situation into such a great?
Yeah, that feeling of depression or some sort of melancholy went then into frustration, into anger, and we saw that feeling throughout the protests. There weren't any violent acts, but people just had enough and started protesting massively. And at the end of November, I would say that the first blockades happened at the beginning of December. It really spread. So the first third, I guess, of December was at the time when pretty much the majority of faculties were into blockades. And the blockade, what it actually means is that the students are now residents of the building, so no classes are held, no exams are being taken, so the entire building is not working as it should. And why do we have this necessity for that? Because we saw the people who are in charge, who were so-called elected, they failed us. And there were protests in Serbia even before. People weren't numb to those corruption cases, for all other examples of that. But it was really the embodiment of something that was publicly funded, something that was called safe. It was renovated twice. It was obviously even that canopy was renovated. The lies that came immediately after that, no sense of responsibility, no sense of trying to amend for those sins, I would say it like that. Just lack of responsibility really gave that anger a catalyst, and through these faculties it became a symbol of a much broader movement for trying to root out corruption in Serbia.
Thank you. And if we think about the current situation, what is happening in the Balkans and in Europe in general, for example, if we take the protests in Greece over the railway station accident, and the protests that emerged as a response of a lack of reaction and accountability for that incident. Do you think there is something specific about the Serbian context that led to your movement, or is this something that stems naturally from the current situation with populism and rising authoritarian?
If we look at the fact that this regime who's now in charge has been, on the power and on the rise for the past 13 years, I'd say during that period of time a lot of affairs and wrongings have been done by the ruling government and our current president, and they went on from some little things and got to some bigger and bigger ones, and over the time some of them were exposed, and I guess only now with our movement and people actually kind of seeing us in the street and talking to us and seeing how our protests happened. They're all non-violent, and we always emphasize that we do not want to use force and do not want to use violence to fight, because again the whole point is that we want to live in a safe country, in a safe society, where everybody has the right to speak their mind, even if they are different from those who are in charge. So I guess majority of people now kind of woke up and actually started seeing and hearing all of those bad things that have been happening for over a decade now, and our actions and how we do them, I think, also kind of struck a chord within some people, so they also opened their eyes and their minds, and just everybody kind of became more aware of all the things that have been happening, and this movement that we started kind of also spread throughout the whole nation, and now we have quite a large amount of support from our other citizens of our country. And you asked something else in the question, I can't remember now.
If you think it's a situation specific for the Serbian context, or if it's also a product of the rising populism and authoritarianism?
I think it's a little bit of both, because this is not the first regime that has, kind of woke the anger among students and generally citizens. This has happened before, but I guess this time it's even on a larger scale, even worse than the previous ones. So I'd say because of that historical kind of context, you could say it's kind of exceptional for Serbia, but also I wouldn't put it aside that it can happen in any other country, and that we should all be aware and not let that happen to anybody. And I would like to take this chance to also say to all of you that at any point that you see your government or anybody else doing something wrong and unlawful, always remember that the power is in your hands. You give them those positions and that power when you go and vote, and every time you participate in your civic duties. So just take our movement and our story kind of as an motivation that anytime something wrong happens, you can and you have a right to speak up and stand up and kind of put an end to all of that.
To move on to the specifics, what are the demands that you have developed, and whom are you addressing? Whom are you expecting to react to your movement?
Okay, so I'd first like to say a thing or two about our demands. We don't have the whole demands in the whole country. Every city has some specifics and their local problems that we differ in, but I would like to say that the gist of all our demands is the same. We want the institutions to work, not only to work, but to work properly, to work as they are supposed to work by the constitution and by law. And as we are all from Novi Sad, I'd like to present our 5 demands from Novi Sad, but keep in mind that it depends from the city and from the faculty. Some faculties have their own demands, but the gist is the same. Okay, our first demand is making publicly available the complete documentation relevant to the reconstruction of the railway station in Novi Sad. Our second demand is initiation of the criminal prosecution and conduct of criminal proceedings against all the people who are actually accountable for the collapse of the canopy in Novi Sad, of course in accordance to the law. Our third demand is resignations from the Prime Minister of Serbia, Miloš Vučević, and the Mayor of Novi Sad, Milan Đurić, and investigation of their accountability for the collapse of the canopy. Our fourth demand is initiation of the criminal prosecution and conduct of the criminal proceedings against all individuals who attacked pupils, students and citizens during peaceful demonstrations with accordance to law, of course. And our last demand is initiation of the criminal prosecution and conduct of criminal proceedings against police officers who attacked Ilija Kostic and injured him, and according to the law, of course. So about the first one, the sum of our demands are we want to find who is accountable for the canopy collapse. And the authorities have said that they renovated everything except for the canopy, and that politicians from 100 years ago are accountable for the collapse, and I think that's a big problem. Also, they bet a 74-year-old man, Ilija Kostic, 5 police officers bet him up, and he had to go into surgery, and he had his testicle removed. And that happened in one of the protests. That's a very serious thing that we put in our demands too. And the moment they meet our demands, we're going to stop the blockades and come back, and that is the exact moment when the institutions are going to work and when I think we will get rid of corruption in Serbia.
Of deeply rooted corruption in Serbia. So the message is that their hands are bloody, their hands are stained with blood because they are responsible because they stole so much money. And when you look at the records of how much everything cost, and how much, you know, it was spent on this part or that part, and certain things were very much not done properly. It is very clear that it is corruption, and it is not the first case. It is, we stopped counting like 10 years ago. So I just wanted to, you know, kind of add that for context. Thank you.
That's an important context to keep in mind for the situation, not just current but past in Serbia as well. But if we think about the past situation in Serbia, Serbia has also had many protests over the years and frequent protests, but there has always been a leader, either a politician or a public figure which took the role. So who is your leader and why don't you have one?
You're looking at 5 leaders at the moment. We don't have any one leader. We are all leaders in doing our part as we see it, but we want to bring that sense to our entire community, to our entire country. You are all leaders and you have a voice and have power to do great things if you stick together and have a very strong message. And about leadership within the student movement, people were very political influences, especially from political parties, and as we call them, I guess people in high were trying to destroy the blockades from within, like sort of spies for the current regime. And there has been put a system of checks and balances, so no one student or nor a group of students can have or accumulate that much power to kind of try to influence some of their own agenda. And we really try to have an open and direct democracy way of thinking and discussing ideas of which way the blockades are going in, what are we going to do next, what's going to happen. And I think that what this tragedy and by the tragedy I think of this current regime, not just this murder that happened on the 1st of November, has done, it has united people from different backgrounds, from different political views. So, for instance, in my faculty we have a great relationship between people who are all around the political spectrum, who are united in the belief of the rule of law. And currently, I guess you can't even have a discussion in which way are you leaning, this, that, or some other way, because you have something that you see as a goal to even try to have a further political debate about stuff like that. And we try to have people that don't expose themselves too much. So there's really a change of students who talk on this rally, in this rally, in this town, in this city, and so also really try to make everyone feel included and that they have a part in this bigger movement that we are trying to create.
I think the proof of what you were saying just now is the past 2 days and the conference today, because yesterday there was two debates with the students, discussions in Prague, and including this one today, neither one of the 3 discussions have the same group of students as guests talking in front of the movement. So, I don't know if anyone noticed, but Lena and I just had a moment while Ivan was talking and did a movement like this. And that brings me to my next question actually, which is, what are plenary sessions, or in Serbian, plenums, and what does this have to do with it?
Yeah, so can you hold the mic just a sec? It's a way to not create that much noise, to show that you are agreeing with someone or that someone has made a great point. so we don't take time or interrupt someone while they're speaking. It's mostly used by people who are either hard of hearing, having some difficulty speaking, or mute people, so they use this hand gesture instead of clapping. And it's also a time saver and really got popular from these plenary sessions or plenums in which there's a lot of people talking, a lot of discussion, and if you keep on clapping, it's just going to go throughout the night, so it's going to be very hard to be productive. And for plenums, I'm going to explain the structure of it, how it works at my faculty, but it has a similar structure, and the point of it is to create direct democracy and to be productive in trying to make some decisions.
Can I don't know if you intend on mentioning that, but can you also tell us how do you disagree with certain points?
You wait for your turn to speak.
No, I mean,
there isn't a direct sign of like something like this, or something. There isn't something that's.
I don't know if other faculties use this, but I've noticed in our faculty of philosophy we sometimes use this. So if we disagree with someone, we use like an X, we make it with our hands. I mean, some faculties, if I'm not mistaken, use also just the tongue down, but yeah, usually our discussions on plenums tend to be, you know, constructive and argumentative, so that's kind of the best way for you to show your disagreement or you know, neglect. Oh, sorry, never mind, continue.
So I will just try to make it as plastic as possible. So there's a hole similar to this one. We have a box that looks like a large tissue box or a voting box. And in there you put in a piece of paper. In that paper you write some sentences, which can be some sort of suggestion, some sort of internal thing, some sort of a suggestion for an action that will take place or an activity you want to organize or be a part in. And then you have to collect at least 10 signatures from your fellow colleagues, and they write in their, I guess, student number or student ID number, so we know who that person that supports the idea, so it's not just some random first and last name. After that, at least 6 of these 10 people have to be present for that plenary session. I think it's a bit boring, but it's important to see that we really try to be as productive, but also as inclusive as possible. So it's just not some idea that no one agrees with. It will just take up time. It's something, but usually they gather at least those 10 signatures. After that, the people who were chosen to be a moderator or a helping hand of the moderator, a stenographer as well, they help out with trying to reach out to the people that came if they are one of the assignees. After that, we have a vote whether or not we're going to discuss that today. It usually passes, so, and then after that we have 45 minutes for discussion, some amendments if the idea is good but maybe not quite finished. And after that, when someone raises their hand, they have 3 minutes to speak. When someone is mentioned, they have 30 seconds to respond, and we try to see like something of an auditorium or amphitheater similar to this one, to see who raised their hands first, and from there we try to give everyone a chance to speak, and after that we even try for some maybe very decisive or rather divisive topics to see, okay, so someone who is for that, can they repeat their arguments? Someone who's against that, can they repeat their arguments? And after that we have a vote. So that's about it.
And can you tell us maybe, since especially at this moment in the academic year, there is a lot of talk about you losing a whole year of studies, and that students should stop with the blockades. Some faculties are also already moving towards some form of continuation of the lectures. How do you decide whether the blockades are going to continue, and how do you include students who do not attend the plenums?
I can attest to that. I was a part of the plenums that were very much alive. The debate was very much going on, so people have different beliefs, and that's completely fine. They just have to show that they're approved, that they're an active student, whether that's online through our web services or through the index that they have with them. I don't know if people have that, but it's a sort of identification that you are an active student. And they came to these plenums. They were representing their case. Most of the time, they lost by quite a bit of a majority of people that don't agree with them, but they were given a voice. We believe that all students have a voice, and these blockades will end with the same way that they began, by students voting on it and deciding that, okay, it's time to stop with the blockades. And for losing our academic year, yeah, in law there's a lot of talk of when you try to write some legislation or some social rules, generally you have to put it on a scale and see what is more important. So in this instance, the right to higher education is important, and we, again, that's why we signed up and enrolled in university. But your right to life is the single most important right you have, and when that right is violated and you don't know if it's going to be violated in repetition, from accident to accident, from crime to crime, from corruption case to corruption case, you just can't stand idly and continue studying and being part of that society without trying to make a change.
Yeah, I would also just like to add that I don't know for how long exactly, kind of memories getting foggy a little bit, but I think for the first month we on the Faculty of Philosophy started up our plenums with the first question and topic was are we going to continue the blockade? But after some time we stopped asking that question because we realized we're gonna keep this fight going, and that the end was nowhere near at the time. I mean, we never know when it's gonna end, when our demands are gonna be fulfilled, but since we go by the parole until the demands are fulfilled, we're gonna stay in the blockades until they are. So at the beginning there was, the opportunity for people who disagreed with the blockades, for them to, also say their mind on that, like my colleague mentioned. Thank you.
I'd also like to ask, because my speakers today are all from Novi Sad, but they came with a larger group of students here to the Czech Republic, and we have representatives also from the University of Belgrade. Are there any differences in the way plenums work in Belgrade or at your faculty? Yeah.
Hello to everyone. I think no, there's no difference, but I want to add something that my colleagues forgot to mention, that at every start of the plenum we have a minute of silence. My faculty, I cannot be sure for the other one, but my faculty. So there it is.
Thank you.
So yeah, about the inner structure of the blockades, I guess the more faculties went into blockades, the more it became, not necessarily complicated, but we had to find a way for it to work with so many people there and everybody being involved, and us believing in that while the blockades are happening, we believe in direct democracy, and that's the way we can actually achieve things. And as he mentioned, getting everyone involved. So, do you want to, explain a bit about the working groups and stuff like that?
So we also, besides plenums, we have some working groups. And for example, there is a security group, and those are the people that sit at the entrance of the faculty of the building, and they just check who is coming in and who is exiting the building. We also have the street action group, and they do basically all the logistics for any protest that we do. Also, the very important one, the street security group. So those are the people who wear vests, green or orange, doesn't matter, and they're there to keep everyone safe, to make sure nothing happens, and if it happens, we also have a police nearby usually, and they're there to call them if something happens. Also, we have something that I found very interesting, and that is a group that's called Students in Every Village. And that is our chance to go to smaller cities or villages and be there for citizens. So, because of our media blackout, people don't have a really realistic picture of what is happening here. And so we were like, okay, we're going to tell you what's happening, and we go from village to village, sit like here from the table, and people are able to come and talk to us, ask us questions, and we're here to answer. And it's very nice to see that older people are just confused because they see one thing on TV and the other thing what we are saying, and they don't know who to trust. So I think that's very important, and that's something that it's really nice to see that we will find a way, always. So it's kind of a story. And maybe did I forget? Of course, the PR group. We have our social medias. You can follow us. And there, so everything that's happening, people can easily see when are the plenums, when are working groups meeting or something like that. And what's the most important thing, every group, when they have some idea or they want to present something, it has to be approved by the plenum. So we all know what's happening and we can vote for or against. So I think, maybe if I forgot something, could you add?
I think we should move on to the following questions because time is passing. But I just wanted to comment on this, what you said, because it seems to me that there are some similarities to something people from the Czech Republic might find familiar, and that is the movement Milion chvílek pro demokracii, or a million moments from democracy. And they actually started also as a student-led grassroots movement, and they organized, just like you, one of the largest protests in the country in the past few decades, and they also the movement grew into some sort of educative action and an organization that helps others participate in the public life, in political life. And I know those are some of the things that you try to do in your protests and the way you communicate to the public. So can you maybe tell me what are the activities that you have so far done, and what kind of things do you do on the streets and elsewhere? You've mentioned from village, every student in every village.
Yeah. So that's one of the things, but we also we do lots of things, to be honest. When there is a big protest, we started to walk or cycle, because mysteriously our trains wouldn't go to a certain city, or the roads are gonna be blocked or something. So we decided, okay, you're trying to stop us, we will not let you. So we started to walk. So we walked from city to city to go there and be for the big protests. The other we have those big protests, we have some walks in the cities, and we have also general strikes, which are really important. We call citizens to join us, to change their usual routine, to not go to work, to not go to the cafes or cinema or something like that, to be with us, to show how angry we are at this point. So
I would just like to add that we organize protests in the street, and so some notable ones are December 22nd last year, a month after students of Faculty of Dramatic Arts in Belgrade got beaten up. They organized a huge protest at Slavia Square in Belgrade, the capital city, that gathered over 100,000 people. Then we had February 1st in Novi Sad, the blockade of the 3 bridges that go over Danube for 27 hours. That gathered also over 100,000 people. Then 15th of February for 15 victims at the time. It was a significant date, as well as the first of the month, every month. That was in Kragujevac. Then Niš happened on March 1st, and then Belgrade again on March 15th. And something very notable there is that, first of all, it gathered almost 1 million people, or even over. That's something we don't know, but the official government information, of course, says a lot less people who were there. And the thing that keeps happening throughout this whole thing since November 1st is that we have terrible violations of human rights, and I think the peak of that was March 15th, when there was a sonic weapon used on demonstrators that were standing in silence for 15 minutes for the people who died. And you know, when you ask people who actually know a lot more about that than we do, and they say that if people weren't silent, nobody would actually hear the sound of the cannon. They would just start to panic, and you can see in the videos that it goes like a straight line, and then people are running away in panic. And it's not the first time something like that has happened during us standing in silence. A lot of people got hit by cars. All of that is very purposefully done. People are getting paid to do that by the ruling party. Also, one of our friends and colleagues, she got her jaw broken because she got beat up by the same kind of people. Then a lot more, actually. She was the first one, and then we had a very big protest, and then a lot more people got beaten up, and her jaw is not the only one that got broken throughout all of this. And what's currently the biggest thing is that we have political prisoners in Serbia, and we're fighting for them. Right now, those are our colleagues and our friends. 6 of them have been in jail for over 60 days, and they have been illegally arrested. And then 6 more people left the country, and they cannot come back because they're going to be arrested at the border because how do you call that? You're a law student, you should know.
Yeah, you get a certain criminal, I guess, document that enforces or gives the police the legitimacy to arrest someone, and it's without, I would say, without cause, in my amateur view of things.
And since we are talking about the victims of the government, can you tell us about the professor who is currently on a hunger and water strike, and about the remaining 5 activists who are imprisoned with the professor?
So just for context, some students from our Faculty of Philosophy in Novi Sad had a meeting with one of the opposition parties, and their conversations were being listened to and illegally recorded, and that illegal recording was played on National Broadcasting Service. After that, they were arrested, and they're being, I think they should get like 5 years of prison or something, which is just terrible. So 5 of those activists are part of the party, and then 1 is just a student from Faculty of Philosophy. And mean, it's terrible, but Maria Vasic, she was your professor, so I'm kind of, gonna let you.
Yeah, it's very hard for me and for Ivan, I believe, too. She was our professor in high school. She works in a gymnasium in Novi Sad. She was a very good professor. She always taught us to think critically, to not just believe everything we are told, and to see her own hunger and thirst strike. She hasn't eaten anything for, I believe, 3 days or more. Even now, she can't even stand up. She was moved to jail hospital yesterday, and then there was this moment when no one knew where she went, and the police wouldn't tell anyone. And it's really concerning that these things are happening in the 21st century in the country. It's really hard for me to believe that in one so-called democratic country it's possible to have something like this. So yeah.
And the reason she went on this hunger and thirst strike was because after 60 days in jail, they were told that they were going to stay there for 30 more days, and that it's going to keep going on because the protests are, still happening. So there are huge protests in Serbia, especially in Novi Sad. This morning and yesterday morning, people were getting beat up by police. There was, a lot of tear gas thrown. It's devastating and it's very upsetting. And obviously, the woman, Maria, she has children, she has a husband, and they are at the protests. And right now, they don't know where she is or how she's doing. Nobody would tell them, is she alive at all? Is she all right? And this is a situation that is currently happening.
And I'd also like to add that they were arrested for some speculations. It's like we go to a cafe and talk about something with our friends or just speculate. They didn't make any official plans. It wasn't an official meeting. They were just chatting in their private rooms, and those rooms were tapped and listened to by the intelligence agency, BIA, and they were arrested, and they used that as evidence, which is totally illegal. The court didn't have a warrant to listen to them. They're trying to falsificate something now and to make up some evidence that they had the right to listen to them, but they didn't, and they're illegally being kept in jail for first 30 days, then 30 days more, then 30 days, and they're all people, and they started all these protests with us, and it's devastating.
Those are terrible obstacles that you are facing, and very violent and scary ones. But I would like to ask you also if there are any A, legal obstacles, and B, if you could tell us more about the counter-revolution and about Chasiland and the Chasis who are there.
Okay, for the A question for legal obstacles, even in the beginning, and this is something that the current regime and their media apparatus are pushing, that plenum or plenary sessions aren't legal, are somehow an attack on the constitution itself for people having the right to discuss ideas in a university, which is where ideas should be nourished. In university in Serbia, and I guess in a lot of other places, but I'm not sure if it's the same in the Czech Republic, it has a special autonomy within it has special rules, how it functions, what's allowed, what's not within the campus, within the faculty, the building, or certain faculties. And for this, it was basically a sort of a working strike from the students talking to their professors, and one of the interesting things is that the majority of the professors support this movement and supports its students in thinking critically and thinking that this is an exam that we should all pass, and it's a much more vital exam than passing some sort of or niche type of subject of law. This is something much bigger that's facing all of us in trying to create a more just society where we can work, live, laugh, and all the nice things and bad things that life can offer us. For other legal obstacles, there have been threats from people. People again were attacked. We had some instances of the courts just ignoring these attacks, pretending they don't happen. They have a very tense relationship with lawyers of the people that were attacked in those protests. We are trying to decriminalize, and from the other aspect I would say safety. A lot of the protests, especially in the beginning, didn't have the backing of the police. So imagine trying to organize the protest and the police are just ignoring you. You have to rely, okay, I can cross the street now, or if someone's going to hit me with a car. So it's a kind of a tense situation, but now it's has been normalized for police to be a certain level of protection during those protests. For some other legal issues, there is, I would even switch to the media, but from the legal perspective, they're lying, which is at least against a journalism codex, and quite often it's illegal. Lying on, especially our national broadcasting service spreads either misinformation or they just hide the truth completely. So some of the issues we're facing are not just issues of maintaining these blockades, but we are getting these threats, these interviews with certain segments of the security apparatus in our own state, which are again, there isn't something, they call it an informative talk that doesn't exist within their own guidelines. So that's again some sort of legal issue that a lot of people don't know about. And it's a lot of pressure to put on people that are young adults still.
Just because we have not too much time, maybe this question about chatis and the last question we can try and pack in a short period of time, because I would like to leave time for discussion with the audience if there are any questions from the audience as well. So just a brief introduction into the counter-revolution.
Okay, so our president Vučić made a circus out of Belgrade. In front of the National Assembly, there's a pioneer park, and he bribed some people and paid them, I think, 100 euros per day to go and camp there. And they call themselves students who want to study. And as we apparently don't want to study, and that's why we enroll in faculties, and they put up tents there, all the same tents, bought from Decathlon. It's totally not obvious, and they camp there. And the most funny thing is, most of them aren't even students, they're like 60-year-olds. And those who are students, they go to private faculties that aren't even in blockade. They can go and study whenever they want to, and it's really, I think it hurts to see that, and people believe that, like, a minority of people go there and support them and give them food or something, because they're brainwashed by the media, pro-regime media that they're watching in national televisions, and yeah, that's about, and it was the word chaci. In Serbian we have a word for students and pupils, it's đaci. And on my grammar school, the same one that Maria comes from, they wrote students should go back to school. But they didn't wrote đaci, they wrote ch, and it was chaci because they're illiterate and uneducated. And our moderator translated it as students instead of students. I think that's a good comparison. And yeah, they live in those tents. They're expanding their territory. They privatize like the central Belgrade. You can't pass there because there are men in black sweatshirts with caps on that they're going to attack you, hurt you, and police is guarding them. There are like men going around with bats and hammers, and police is just standing and guarding them and doing nothing. They made a zoo with people in 21st century. It's disgusting.
I would also like to add one more big difference between Chachis and us. Every time when we organize any sort of protest, no matter the size, we always leave an hour or half an hour at the end to clean up the streets in the area that we have blocked. So, I mean, it's natural that if we stay there for a long period of time, mess is going to be made. But at the end, we always clean up the streets and never leave mess behind. Where on the other hand, the Pioneer Park in Belgrade was and is still totally demolished from, you know, not just garbage, but their behavior, which is not, you know, either polite or non-violent, but rather kind of, I mean, those people, I'd call them hooligans in those caps and hoodies, so they have acted like that, and there's evidence on the streets of their behavior.
Sorry, and about the, how did you call it? Like the anti-rallies and counter-revolution.
Counter-revolution.
Yeah, so when we started having these huge protests, and mind you, Serbia is a very small country, having 100,000 people in the street is a very, very big achievement. And then we kept doing that, and then we kept doing it in all these big cities where they have universities. So after that, our president started making his own rallies. He always, you know, bribes people, or you know, they're gonna lose their job, they get threatened, and whatever, and then they have to go to his rallies. And then he's saying that, like, those are contrary to us. So if we make protests against, like, corruption, and we want, you know, justice and basic human rights, and then he's, you know, contra that, anti that. I'm not sure what he's exactly for. So, yeah, that's the thing.
And an interesting thing I would add to that is that they also, because students have their own requests, which they've talked about, but the president himself recently made his own requests. Not sure who is supposed to.
Yeah, for those requests, it's kind of funny. It's like you don't study and you keep on telling yourself to study, but you're completely in control of your ability to open up a book and starting to read something. So it's similar to that. He's asking the institutions to work, but they are working, I mean, in his favor. So all these demands he has complete control over. It's just a PR stunt, as a lot of stuff that the current regime, even the previous regimes in our land and Yugoslavia before, it's a major PR stunt, and a lot of competent people don't want to take part in that, or even aren't allowed to take part in doing something effective and something that they're supposed to do and they should do. It's all a bunch of people trying to make themselves just look good. So he and their PR team saw that these demands are something that resonates with the people, so I'm going to have my own demands. It's same with the students. The students are finally not uninterested in societal change and politics. So now we have students that are on the other side. It's a copycat. It's just what it is, and it's the same with people that are so-called walkers, or rather trailblazers, I think it would be a better term. So for people, as Elena explained, when you walk from city to city, it's about 100 kilometers and a multi-day walk. So they saw that's something that resonates with people. People get emotional when they see that. So now we have people that walk from Kosovo to Belgrade, and these people, Usain Bolt should get lessons from them because they are much faster than he is to get to Belgrade if they're walking that fast. Then for some, should it go into the conclusion?
I think we should move on to the last question, and then maybe leave the rest for
so
potential
for
questions.
this epilogue or some sort of ending,
I didn't pose the question. So I wanted to, as the last question, I wanted to draw another parallel with something close to the Czech Republic and the local people here, and that is one of the largest movements in the history of Czechoslovakia and the Czech Republic, consequently. The Chartists 77 movement. I'm not sure how much you're familiar with it, but they had a similar beginning as a response to an injustice and imprisonment of the Plastic People of the Universe, a band, musical band, and their members. They started as a group who had similar goals and ideas about how society should be led. That was in the communist regime in the Czech history. But they then, from that movement, a sort of political epilogue developed, where some of the members of the signatories of the Chart 77, they started taking part in the politics, and one of them even became the president. So what epilogue, since there is talk now about the elections and the student involvement in the elections, what epilogue do you see for your movement?
Since the beginning of our movement, we saw a lack of people that know what they're doing in positions that are very risky to be filled with people that don't know what they're doing, and that is, again, the consequence of that is death, and that's quite bad. So we were pushing for some people that are experts in their field, that know what they're talking about, that they can do that more efficiently and even just effectively, so that we can have some sort of reliability in these sectors of government. And now we see that these people are either unwilling or unable to meet these demands. So now we are trying to use we are going to push for elections nearly as a democratic tool to have our demands met. Since the blockades are going to keep on happening, this social and political crisis is going to keep on being there until these demands are met. And I just want to clarify, none of us are going to be on some sort of electoral list. The students aren't going to nominate themselves. Right now, there is on a national level communication between strategy groups from all faculties around Serbia that are trying to find people that they can put their faith into and then present it to all students as a list that can combat this corruption, and hopefully that we can live in a just and democratic society which the Republic should stand for.
Thank you. We have about 20 minutes now. If there are any questions from the... Yes, Nemanja, could you please be the one to pass the mic around?
Yeah, okay, thank you for sharing your expression about the whole protests and everything. I wanted to react on something that you said. You said two things which stood out for me, that the corruption is deeply rooted in Serbia, and at the same time you said that if you remove Vučić and his kind of group around him, you will get rid of corruption. So that kind of goes against itself, and I think you understand what I mean. I mean that it's probably a wider and deeper problem, corruption. And my question is, I understand that Vučić is the most immediate problem. However, what do you expect? What will change after these protests? After, even if you got, which I think you will, got rid of Vučić? I hope so. How will the protest benefit the democratic society and get rid of, not get rid of, or better the situation with corruption? What system, do you see a systemic change that you want to implement, or you don't go as far? You just go for getting rid of Vučić? I hope I wasn't.
I understood your question. It's just like some broader context, and then what's been happening for the past 6 months, and then last 13 years, and then last 35 years. Is we don't have enough time to sit here and talk for like 10 days, and we would not have everything covered. But our demands are actually not intended for the president, but he's a dictator, so there's kind of an issue with that, and we want the system to work because the way the system is set is really decent. It's good, but it just doesn't work. So that is the first kind of part, and then the second is that Vučić, he's in the political scene of Serbia and has been since the 90s. Since Milošević was the president, and he kept doing, it's the exact same scenario. These like anti-rallies and, when it comes to voting in elections, they're getting stolen all the time. It's the same principle. During Milošević's time, Vučić was the Minister of Information, and he learned from him. So the idea is that it's not just him, but it's a start, and then the system, our demands are for the system because they are the ones whose jurisdiction is to fulfill them, and he, as the president of a country like Serbia, it's not his jurisdiction, but he keeps kind of fighting us all the time because he's a dictator. So I hope it kind of makes a bit more sense now.
Yeah, and a big systemic change for this deeply rooted corruption. People are taking notice. So it's not just everything's directed to him. All of these demands he's not authorized or allowed to fulfill. It's not under his jurisdiction. So we are trying to make people see that every time you see corruption somewhere, it's your problem, it's my problem, it's everyone's problem. So even these smaller things, we are trying to make it on a more national level that people have a sense, and even students and young people have a sense of what it is to be a citizen in a democratic society. So when you see injustice, someone breaking the law, you should stand up against it. And we see even protests today and the blockades of the courts and the prosecution's office because they are just ignoring their job. They aren't doing their job correctly. So it's not just directed to him, but by a domino effect, it is connected to him. So we really saw a change, even if it broke today, which it won't. Our country will never be the same again. People have gotten a sense of, I belong here, I'm a citizen, I have rights, and it's really been a sort of an enlightenment moment, I would say, in our history, probably, looking at things.
I mean, my colleagues mentioned everything. I wanted to kind of give all of that, but in a quite shorter and more direct way. Because he's been around since the 90s, he has, step by step, a little bit by little bit, has pushing the boundaries of, injustice and kind of the systematic, corruption of the system, but also our social values of our society, of our nation, of our culture. So over the time, people kind of also got used to injustice, corruption, breaking the law, and kind of always said to themselves, oh, well, it's never gonna get better, it's been like this for a long time, it could be worse, and so on, and people kind of got used to that. And, there, unfortunately, such a big tragedy and murder had to happen for even the ones who were very apolitical and, not involved into political and social life in some kind of active way, have also realized and woke up. And I think because of our movement and all the things that we do, we kind of showed people that we can always gather together and stand up for the justice and stand up to something that is wrong, and that even if we don't take down Vučić, or somebody even worse comes after him or the same, or just does the whole things, if the things don't change, we can again stand up and kind of fight against that. So I hope that our student movement brings that kind of psychological and social change into our society, so we no longer get used to the injustice. Thank you.
Thank you. I kind of want to move myself from that, because I wanted to thank you for being here, because this apathy and this retreat from political life and this desensitization to injustice is not something that is limited to Serbia, and the contemporary society is definitely feeling along the way. And I find myself quite often in discussions with people who keep telling me that there is no way, no issue, no injustice can be addressed. And at that moment, I tell them, well, look at the students in Serbia. So it's really nice that I can actually see you. So maybe they will believe me now when I will tell them that you are really people made from bones and meat ideas. But apart from this comment, I also have a question regarding unions. I read an amazing article where some union leaders have been quoted saying that there are, I believe, 5 major organizations in Serbia. That's what the article said. And the leaders were quoted saying that the students, have united these unions. So I'm interested in this strategy. I'm interested in the involvement of unions into the movement. What are they bringing? Maybe what challenges are coming up from the convergence of the student and the workers' movement, and what's the strategy with that?
I would also add to that question that you could maybe tell us also a little bit more about how you mobilize people.
I just wanted to be sure, when you ask unions, what exactly, that, okay. Well, we called them up and we said, hey, do you want to talk? And they said, yeah, sure. Because the situation in Serbia really reflects on everyone's lives, and unions or syndicates are the ones who are kind of supposed to fight for workers' rights. But the mobilization of the people wasn't that hard, to be honest, because this has been a very long time coming, and everybody just waited on somebody to start it first. And then, everybody just followed. On November 5th, the first protest in Novi Sad we had because of this tragedy was, there were 22,000 people. That's what the official records say now. I'm not sure if we trust them anymore. But at the time, it was the biggest protest in Novi Sad in this century. So people, you know, they want to help. They usually call us. With syndicates, we called them, but they're very rare group of people that we had to call up. I don't know if anybody feels.
Yeah, we also organize general strikes, as Nina said, together, and boycotts. For example, there was this big supermarket chain, Maxi in Serbia, that they started firing teenagers who worked there because they go to protests, and they massively fired, I don't know, 60% of teenagers that worked in the supermarkets, and then we decided together with unions to boycott their supermarket, and like for 1 month or 2 months we didn't go and buy there anything at all. There's a farmer union and a lawyer union that supports us, and a lot of them actually. IT also has some their organization, and I think it's very interesting that, as Nadia said, we didn't have to call anyone. They were ready for this. They've been waiting 13 years, and not only 13 years, maybe 30 years actually for this to change, because these are the same people that were here 30 years ago, very small changes, and older people, our parents, they feel sorry that they didn't take the chance to change something the 5th of October 25 years ago, and then they let them come back again in 2012, and so people, this isn't a new movement, people are ready for change, they just needed someone to go in front of them, and the students did it.
As for syndicates, so when they said they wanted to talk, we sat down, we made a working group for talking to syndicates, as we make a working group for absolutely everything, you would not believe it. And we sat down and we said, okay, what can we do? So the boycott was one of the things we kind of did together. For a syndicate of radio television of Vojvodina, they made their own like free news, you know, kind of a thing, broadcast, proving that that media company can work better, they just don't want to. Then farmers actually came into the city, but it was a very tense and a very complicated situation where we helped them and they helped us. But the reason they came was because people during the night broke our friend's jaw and beat her up, and you know, a few days before that, the farmers told the police, they sent them a document saying that they need to protect us, and if they don't, the farmers are gonna come. And when they didn't protect our friend, you know, the farmers came, and then, you know, that's why if you look up the photos and the videos, you see a bunch of tractors everywhere. They're there to, you know, help us and save us, bikers as well. So yeah.
I just want to add that I spoke to a lot of people, and they told me they actually feel like they're getting their country back. They forgot that we are the people, we make the country, not one person, not 10. We are the ones. So they feel powerful and they're very happy because they know we want the best, because we are going to stay in that country. So they trust us and they put their hopes in us as we do in them, and they're very helpful, and this way I want to thank them, because without them, I mean, nothing would be possible.
Dobar dan, dobar den, pani.
Dobar dan.
Smem li na srpskom? Pošto na engleskom razumem, ali...
Možete biti na srpskom, pa ću ja prevesti na engleski.
Aha, dobro. Nemam pitanja, ali vas pratim. Znači, pratim vas od samog početka, nadam se da će uskoro i kraj. Veliku borbu ste ušli, velika borba vas čeka. Ja sam bila odbornik u SNS-u 2016. godine, 13. u stvari.
Moram samo da paralelno prevodim, pošto neću uspjeti sve da ispredim.
Pazite, suštinu ćete izvući, a suština sledi. Tako, daću vam znak. Inače sam prosvetni radnik, 20 godina bila u Srbiji i direktor 10 godina škole. Imala sam pritiske i iako sam, znači, bila u SNS-u, ali sam radila protiv svega što oni nelogično i nenormalno rade. Jedna stvar, ćerke su mi tamo, završile su studije, znači prate vas svuda, na svakom mestu. Ono što sad možete prevesti, ono što je jako bitno, mi u dijaspori, da nešto uradimo za vas, za sve nas, kad dođu izbori. Jer mašinci protiv mašinerije su, ali mašinerija je sada ogromna njihova. Znam ih. Znači, radit će svašta. Vi ćete s Tjesnini morati na fakultete da se vratite. Oni će iskoristiti taj trenutak zato što ćete biti zauzeti, zato što ćete, normalno morate da studirate i da završite ono što želite i volite da radite, ali oni će to iskoristiti. Naši glasovi iz dijaspore, kada dođu do izbora, plašim se da ne budu negde u nekim njihovim stranama.
Moram samo da vas prekinem, pošto imamo poslednjih 5 minuta za pitanja. Ako imate pitanje, da formirate pitanje.
Pitanje, nego razmišljajte o ovome.
Ok, samo bit će posle prilike da popričate sa studentima, sve ću najaviti pre završetka termina. Hvala.
Hi, I also don't have a question, but it'll be really quick. And it also is regarding something someone says about the systematic change, and it refers to the fact that it doesn't always come from within. I study here at the Faculty of Social Sciences, and we talk a lot about Western Balkans, especially in the context of stabilitocracy, which is a term used to describe the fact that the EU is prioritizing stability over democratization. Which is a big issue because the core idea is, okay, well, you're not violent like you did in the 90s, but so you don't need democracy. So it's important to mention that Vucic's regime is heavily supported by EU. Also, Dodik's regime, also former Djukanov's regime, over the question of Kosovo, lithium, and so many other issues. So that's a very important thing to remember because this is also consequences of EU support of the current regime, and they're not doing anything to help the students or the country in general.
Thank you.
Kristina? Tamo.
Just a quick one. Thank you for everything you're doing. Is your visit part of some broader campaign, or are you the only fellowship of the ring, or there are some other groups circling around Europe, meeting people and spreading the word?
So this is actually, yesterday was our first big media conference, and people can change. Everyone, our PR group can join. We're talking what's happening, so it's nothing really tough to do. We would like to go to other cities, to other countries, and talk with other students, with other people, and tell them what's happening. So we'll see what happens.
It's not like a PR campaign or anything that we are doing or that we initiated. We just got a call like, hey, do you want to come to Prague and to Brno, and tell your story? And we said yes, of course. And we always hope to get more calls and talk to people.
And also maybe you heard our colleagues cycling to Strasbourg, and now some of our colleagues are running to Brussels. Yeah, and it's not really a part, initially the idea wasn't some sort of PR campaign or media exposure, but it turned out to be a really great way to kind of spread the news and awareness about what is happening in Serbia, and also a great way because those people are actually coming there fresh in blood and other people from Europe, no matter if they're Serbian by origin or just or not, they see those real students. We exist. We are, putting all of this work, sweat, blood, and tears into this movement. And I think that also helped raise kind of awareness of what is happening.
We have 1 minute until the end of our discussion, so there was already someone.
Yeah, it's a quick question. I just wanted to ask, what can we from here, from Czech Republic, do to support you?
Yeah, that's a big question. We even got that yesterday and the day before. We even Serbian people working and living in Prague. It's about for Czech people. It's about awareness and trying to get a sense of citizenship, I guess, a sense of liberty and freedom. And of course, you can do a lot to spread awareness. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to your faculty, professors, teachers. Whether they know something, know someone. Usually, good people pop up when you just look long enough. So that's about it.
I would maybe just add to that to spread the word about what's happening, because obviously the fight is way too big, and we really could use support from the European Union, but the media here, with a few exceptions, are not really informing the public about what is happening, and these protests are protests for the same democratic values that the European Union holds to, and it would make sense if the European Union would also help us in achieving a just state. I would like to thank you all for coming here, for joining us in this discussion. I would of course like to thank all of my guests for their time and their talk. There is a little bit of time